it's a very complex topic. I've been doing research on digital transformation, and I want to share some very few slides with you, just setting the context, and hopefully this will also bring some framework for the discussion that we can refer back to. So I just want to share my screen with you and then go out. Let's see if I can, oops. Okay, sorry, I need to stop sharing first and then go out. How do I do this? So let's see, how can I do, sorry, I got a brain freeze here right now.
Annika, I think what you have to do, yes.
Here we are,
okay.
I found it. Okay, sorry for that. So can you see this?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. I want to give you some basic about transformation. And I said, I've been doing a number of research paper on this topic, and it's very problematic. Hire is one of the cases I've been studying, of course, but I also studied other cases like General Electric, Siemens, and others. And the problem that we see in this topic that we're going to discuss now is that there are more or less all firms will have to do some kind of digital transformation. And that is due to the rapid technology development of digital technologies. The problem is, the situation is that there are more or less no dominant design in regard frameworks. There is not any framework that is leading and can guide executives and managers that this is the way you can digitally transform your enterprise. So what I want to just present to you shortly is two frameworks that have helped me when I try to analyze the companies that I just mentioned, and hopefully those frameworks can help you as well, and also be of help in the discussion in the panel. The first framework that I think have been very useful was developed by MIT, and as you can see, it was early on in the early 1990s. That is how few frameworks that are out there. So I had to go back to the early 1990s to find one. This is presented in Venkat Raman in 1994 article, a research paper. And as you can see, it was focused on IT-enabled business transformation. So the business value that we get by enabling IT and information technology in a firm. And as you can see, it's a number of steps. So the very little first step, which they call evolution, is not even a radical change. It's an evolution of the organization, existing organization, is localized exploitation. So you start enabling IT or digital technology in a single process. The next one, internal integration, is that you might connect two business processes together and you make it a little more efficient, but it's still internally within the organization. And it's still exactly the same business model and same processes as you have. So it's evolution. It's just a small step, incremental changes based on IT-enabled technology. The third step, okay, now we start to try to do some more radical innovation. We do business process redesign. We think through the business process, we change them, and we do that in a light and context of information technology, and then we enable IT technology. So it's a little bit more, it's a little bit high level, but still it's within the organization. The fourth step, we now try to connect suppliers, customers. We start to connect ecosystem partners through IT technology. So we talk about business network redesign. Now we start to see higher benefit and higher business impact, right? And the very last fifth step is where we have the business scope redefinition. We change the business model of a firm. And this is where I find higher are today. But most of the organization I've been looking at, they are definitely not on a business model, remodeling. They are not on the fifth level. So when we discuss digital transformation or transformation as is the subject of this panel, we have to really keep the apple from the pears. Are they localized exploiting IT within a process, or are they actually changing the business model based on new digital technology? So that is the first framework that have helped me, at least, very much. The other framework is based on innovation diffusion theory and change management theory. We know a lot about how management innovations are diffused today. We also know that more or less every organization that wants to transform, they are going through a 5-step process in a very simplistic manner. They go through feeling a desirability to change. They do try to seek for feasible solution that fits their organization. They always do some kind of first trial, implement some kind of test, piloting. And then they start, based on the success criteria from that, they start to focus on a broader implementation, usually in a department or in a unit first, and then they spread it wider or to different functions in the organization. They might start with manufacturing, and then they go over to financial department, HR, and so on, as we have seen with Lean, for example. And then the 5th step is all about management trying to sustain the change, which is harder than we believe, because we know that as soon as a new CEO is coming in with the 20th century mindset, as we already have heard about, we can be back on square zero. We are back to the old, bad level again. And this whole process might be of vain. We also know that the thing that is changing us, any organization, are triggers. Triggers in the form of market demand, of new standards. We know, for example, if you listen to or know about ISO 9000, ISO 14000, those standards acted as triggers for thousands of companies all around the world to start implementing ISO. That's why the EFDM work is so important if we do want to bring Rendanheyi out, or similar models. I totally agree with you. It's so many models that it's different variant of the same thing. Okay, but triggers are needed. It could be competitive pressure, it could be owner demands, it could be a very intelligent board of directors with new competence, with new light, that is demanding the organization, executive leadership to do something. We've seen that. It can be market demands, standards. And we also know that the characteristic of the innovation matter tremendously. And here we have a huge risk, because an organization is acting on an organization improvement trajectory. It's acting on its history, what is known to them. We are very basic human beings. We act on what we know. What we don't know is too far away from us. So we tend to adopt things that is mirroring in what we already do. We tend to do very incremental changes. So if we look at innovation in the form of a management innovation like the Rendanheyi, we are looking for something that is complementary to what we do. That is the first thing of the Rendanheyi model we adopt. That's why we need to see it in components, because we are looking at the Rendanheyi model in different way, and we tend to adopt the things that make sense for us first. Okay? The other thing that we need to understand, yes, I'm going to just finish. The other thing we need to understand is also the benefit for the organization and the possibility to trial it and observe it. That's why the standardization might be important. Finally, the external context is mattering. So the institutional setup in a single region or a country does matter for the implementation and the diffusion of the Rendanheyi model. We know that. We also know that diffusion mechanisms like consultants, researchers, standardization organizations do matter for the diffusion. We learned this from Lean, from TQM, from all those things, Six Sigma. And then finally, the internal context matter for the adoption of the 21st century model. We know that we need user competence in the executive team. If we have the wrong executive team, it will not happen. They need to have user competence. We are fighting with inertia. We are fighting with path dependency. And we are going to deal with all these things we have learned in change management. So that's all from me. And I want to stop sharing now.